page with 6 different steps. If you don't get a Get Started page with 6 different steps pop up, you can also get to your Get Started page by clicking on your profile picture and then Get Started. So this is what your Get Started page looks like. There's a series of steps that are required for you to get started on the InsuredMine platform. The first one's going to ask you for your full name, your work email, your phone number, and the work address. Then you can save and continue. The next step is going to be connect your work email. So whenever you're connecting your work email, this is to be able to tie contacts to emails from InsuredMine. Connect scheduler. This is going to be if you would like for people to book with you or book onto your calendar directly. You can connect a scheduler that works much like Calendly. Let me take these out because I can't hear myself. Then we have verify email. So on verify email, this one right here, you're going to verify any email that you want to use as a sender in InsuredMine. This is so that you do not get marked as spam whenever you're sending mass communications. So verify email, for example, if you have an office email, you can do that one. Then you can add however many email addresses that you want to be able to send from in the platform. You're going to receive an email from Amazon Web Services. You'll click on the link in the email to approve that email address as a sender in InsuredMine. Add signature. In Add Signature, any email signature that you have at the bottom of your emails, you can take that email and send it to signature@insuredmine.com. And then it's going to be in the step 2, but I just can't click on it right now. But it's signature@insuredmine.com, and we'll add that signature into your platform from the back end. Configure texting and calling. Montserrat, for TWFG, is that already configured, or how does that work?
Okay, so for TWFG, if you have Ring Central, we can connect with Ring Central or Lightspeed. And also we have a free number that you can use with Twilio. So what you have to do is just send us a message in the support chat, like you want to have your phone number and text message, and we will be able to connect or to give you the number and also the area code.
So once you've completed your Get Started steps here, after these steps are completed, the next page that you're going to view whenever you log into InsuredMine is your dashboard. And so your dashboard is typically going to be the #1 page that you view from InsuredMine. Montserrat, did you want me to explain anything else about the logging in?
Nope. That's it, Victoria. Thank you. So here you have the integration between Evo and InsuredMine. As you can see, you know that the integration works. If you add a contact in Evo, it's going to transfer in InsuredMine. If you add a contact in InsuredMine, it's going to transfer to Evo. The policy, it's not going to transfer InsuredMine to Evo, but Evo to InsuredMine, it's going to transfer. And all the activities like notes, files, email, text message, calls are going to transfer in Evo as open diaries.
Montserrat, did you see that chat was disabled? Or the chat is disabled?
Oh, sorry. I thought that it was working. Now you can send us a message, guys. Sorry about that. Hi. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to stop here with the integration, and I'm going to ask Denise and Rachel to share their screen and to guide us through your process, guys.
Thanks, Montserrat. I would step back and just say that with the chart that you just had on there, if you've never been an InsuredMine, that looks really scary and you're not really sure what all of that means. But as we start explaining how communication moves back and forth, it will make much more sense. The main thing that you need to know is that it's a fairly seamless process at moving a contact and their policies to and from InsuredMine to Evo and Evo to InsuredMine. The things that you don't want copied from Evo, don't copy. And the things that are helpful to copy from InsuredMine automatically process through. And that's why having your email tied in, not only is it important from not being registered as spam, but it means every piece of communication that you send from InsuredMine appears and is coming directly from you, not from a MailChimp server, not from an outside source. If I send an email communication, it's coming from ddavis@twfg.com, which is really important to our clients. The same thing with the phone service. If you have that ability, we don't have the ability for them to log into our phone service, but you still want to take the step to get the phone number and use it for text capabilities, because it gives you a much more seamless trail of communication for you and the client and your office. Rick, mine is a local provider. It's a smaller company that we decided to leave the other large name one. We just like the customer service from a small local company better. And we just recently had done that right before we went to InsuredMine. But we've had great service with them for the single phone number that we use for them for text messages. It's worked wonderfully. We just can't, because it's not in InsuredMine, we can't call through it the way that you could if it was packaged together. And like Akram said, yeah, the InsuredMine texting works wonderful. So Montserrat asked us to give a presentation. So my name is Denise Davis. I have owned a branch with TWFG coming up on 20 years. And Rachel Barrios is on the call with me as my personal lines manager and handles all of our personal lines products and employees. And we started probably fourth quarter of last year, before we ever got a notice about InsuredMine, sat down and started talking about, looking forward to 2023, what was going right, what did we need to do better, what did we wish we had. And we were already looking at the methods of communication we were using for our clients. At that point, we were using MailChimp to send out 2 different emails to our clients before their renewal. We sent one out at 60 days prior to their renewal, and we sent out one at 30 days prior to their renewal. And I had done that for several years. As you can imagine, that's a very cumbersome process if you are trying to keep a list updated with your actual current clients, because it meant that I had to have an employee go in and update MailChimp every month, adding new clients in with all their policies and taking out any clients that left. And this was getting more and more cumbersome the larger we got. And we knew that we were to the point where it just was not working well for our agency. We were also mailing out a welcome packet to all of our clients, introducing the agency, telling them the importance of our TWFG app, our carrier apps, how they could get customer service, and just giving up kind of the names and the faces together in a letter. And so I had an employee mailing those out every month. We had a separate platform we were using for Google reviews and had just started using Calendly to have our clients set up appointments with all of our personal lines account managers. Looking at all of this in December, we realized this was getting more and more difficult, the number of platforms we were working through. And a week later, we got the announcement that TWFG had formed a partnership with InsuredMine and that we were going to be able to do contact relationship management through them. We started trying to set it up in December, and I'm not going to lie, I was 3 days away from vacation and decided to not complete that process at that time. So once we got back in January was when Rachel and I started to sit down and look at the training, look at the different pieces to see if this indeed was a viable option for us to replace all of these separate communication pieces we were using. The more we dug into it, the more it was obvious it was going to not only replace everything that we were using, but to allow us to do it more effectively and more efficiently. Because when I say that, if Rachel is communicating with me about my auto or my home insurance renewal, there's a lot of back and forth once she reaches out to me to ask me for information and maybe to clarify points. And when she sends quotes, we all do a lot of back and forth via phone, email, and text, just checking on people. The industry average is you have to contact a client or a prospect 8 times on average before you get response from them. Since you guys all on the call know where we're sitting right now with the reshopping renewals and the number of people that are sometimes coming in our door for new quotes because of where the industry is, just the sheer volume of diaries everyone was walking into every day, because I texted Rachel yesterday and now today I need to email her, or tomorrow I need to call her. And the volume was getting unmanageable and overwhelming to all of our staff. And so when we looked at InsuredMine, we realized this was going to give us a way to accomplish, number one, reducing the number of different platforms we were using for these solutions. Number two, it was going to give us more consistent communication, because I, at that point, couldn't tell you that all 5 people sending out communication were always sending out the same thing or that things were worded the best way. The other thing is, the busier we get, the more things can fall through the cracks and communication points can get missed. And that was becoming a problem as well. The last thing, and mostly the most important thing, is I didn't want my staff to constantly be in this situation where we constantly all felt overwhelmed and unable to make any headway in our processes every day. So when we sat down and looked at it, we decided this was the best hope that we had of reducing that stress, reducing those diaries, and organizing our communication to clients. We sat down and had a game plan. We decided to start with our personal lines renewals, because that to us was our biggest hot button or our largest fire we needed to put out. Soon after that, we did our new business communications. We've since rolled in several X-date pipelines, and we'll go over that in a couple of minutes. We also have rolled in some communication pipelines when we work an event somewhere and we need a place for all of those contact points we get. We've worked in some marketing funnels as well for contact points. And then Rachel and I sat down and we both attended several of the webinars that InsuredMine put on. I'm going to tell you the most helpful thing, I think, for both of us. I know for me it was that I popped up InsuredMine, and on a second screen, I popped up the YouTube channel, because I could then sit and watch a piece of the setup in InsuredMine. Then I could pause it and I could go into my actual InsuredMine and set it up. And then I could go back and forth. And we piecemealed a couple of pieces, but I'm going to say Rachel and I, for the most part, had everything set up. We spent a Saturday morning up here and got everything set up in less than a day for the agency. We needed to do it at a time it was quiet and there wasn't 17 other things going on. The phone wasn't ringing. Employees didn't need anything. So we chose to come up here on a Saturday in the quiet and get it done. And I think it was a really effective way for us to do it. I know in the beginning, the biggest hurdle can just be in learning the lingo and the contact points, because if you haven't been using any kind of customer relationship manager, MailChimp or something else, then you haven't started thinking down those lines. And some of the new terms with the cards and the funnels and the pipelines and the communication points can seem like a foreign language. But the more that you dig in and work through it, the faster it becomes familiar to you. And now our whole agency, we've been in it again. We went live February 1st, and our whole agency is now, for the most part, in it and on it and loves it. And it's made training even our new business, our new employees that come in, I think much more effective. And Rachel will talk a little bit about that. And now she's going to share her screen so that she can talk through the renewal funnel.
Awesome, thanks. So before I show this to you guys, I don't want you all to get intimidated by it because it's a little busy. But what I will tell you this is, if you get ready to go in and start doing this, just start with one thing. And when we got it all set up and we had like what we thought was going to be our renewal process, we've gone back and we have tweaked things as we've realized after a month or so, like we could word this email better, or we could do this text better, or hey, we could introduce a ringless voicemail here, that kind of thing. So don't be afraid to just get started. Even if you start with some basic things, you can always add to it. You can always adjust it. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys what my renewal pipeline looks like. Somebody thumbs up. Can we see that? Are we good? All right, perfect.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, so this is my renewal pipeline, and I know it's big and scary and all of that. What I will tell you is, so when I come in the morning, I look at everything the process begins in this first pipeline here where it has the 50 days. And I review all of that and I confirm that cards are with who they need to be to. So if I need to reassign cards, that kind of thing. So the benefit to this has been, if we go through our current employees, this employee is our newest one. And so when you look at her pipeline, you'll see that her cards, once it pops up, look a lot less than mine. So I'm able to, with a new employee, onboard them much more slowly by just giving them a handful of cards to start with as they're getting used to this process. One of my employees who's been here longer than that, our employees, if you look at hers, she's got a little bit busier pipeline going on with what she's doing. So mine is big and scary and all of that, but that's what I get paid the big bucks for. But it's not necessarily going to look like that from jump. So I just want to walk you guys through, and I get excited about this, so I'm going to try not to talk too fast. But if I do, just somebody raise your hand, tell me to slow down. But this is what our renewal pipeline looks like, and you'll see that we have 7 potential stages in here. So I'm just going to kind of walk through what each of these does and the workflow that it's taken off of me to do, where I have to manually do all of this, where it's helping me with that. So in this 50-day stage right here, what happens is you'll see these dates are coming up in August for the renewal date. At 50 days, these deal cards are created for every client, for every renewal that they have coming up. So you'll see that some of them have multiple, like this one is a renters and an auto policy. This is just an auto policy. So you'll see that these are all whatever's coming up on that day. Now, sometimes you could have one that renews on one day and then the different policy the next day. You're able to merge those and kind of combine them. But at this point, it gives me the time. I have 2 automations set up in this stage, one that goes out at 45 days, one that goes out at 35 days. But this gives me a 5-day window for me to review and to be able to see if I need to, who I need to reassign cards to. Is there any duplicates that I need to check on?
So I'm going to jump in and just say that this allowed us to be much more fluid and flexible when we see what's going on in the industry right now, where people are getting their homeowners renewals 60 days out. It allowed us to have a communication point with them much faster than we were able to just waiting on the diary to pop up at 30 days. And so when we started seeing, gosh, people are really calling us as soon as they got that homeowners renewal in the mail, because we're at 50 days, they're getting an email from us almost immediately telling them that we are actively working on their renewal in the background. And that's one of those things that we did not have the ability to do in the things that were piecemealed together that we were using before this.
Right. So with the market the way it is and everybody trying to save money, and as soon as they get a bill in the mail, they're, freaking out and they're shopping and that kind of thing. This is giving us a little bit more of an advantage of sending them something for peace of mind going, hey, we know this is coming. This is kind of where the market is. This is what you can expect, but we're on it. We're working on it. If you have questions, if you have concerns, if you have changes, give us a call. So they get a couple of emails in that first pipeline at 45 days and at 35 days. And then the last stage of this pipeline right here, it automatically moves it to the 30-day. So when the card lands in the 30-day is the same day that you'll see it pop up in your Evo. So that's a good way for you to be able to track. If I've got a card and InsuredMine and I don't have a diary in Evo, what's the situation? Or if I have a diary in Evo and I don't have a card in InsuredMine, we need to see what's going on. So it's a good checks and balances to make sure you're not overlooking renewals, or you're not working something that has maybe already canceled and you didn't realize it, that kind of thing. And so at this point, there's a task that'll come up that tells me that I need to label it. No, ignore that one. We'll get into labels in a minute. It'll pop up and tell me that I need to look and see, do I need to review this for remarket or for stay? So what I will do is I will review these in Evo. I will see, has the rate gone up? Whatever my things are that would trip the trigger of me saying, okay, this is a policy that I need to reshop. And I will make a decision at this point. I'm not going to necessarily work the remarket, but I just need to make this as a decision point where I go, do I need to remarket it or do I not? If I look at someone's policy like this one all the way over here, I looked at Blanche all the way on the right, and I saw today that her auto renewal had actually stayed exactly the same from last time, which is crazy right now. We do have the ability to just move it straight from this 30-day all the way into this stay, which will not send any automations unless I put this label on here. So you can use labels as a way to go, hey, everything in this pipeline is all, I'm not necessarily requoting it, I'm not doing anything with it, but I do need to notify my client that I've reviewed it and this is the decision I've come to. So these labels are helpful because then this label has automation tied to it. Somebody ask a question. This label has automation tied to it, and it'll then send them to go, hey, I reviewed this, the price stays the same, that's great. If you have any questions, give me a call. If I look at this and I decide this policy does need to be requoted, I then have to manually move it over to the remarket. But what that will do is tomorrow, if I move it today, tomorrow it's going to send my client an email going, hey, just letting you know, I'm currently working this right now. I'm going to be reshopping you and I'll reach out in the next 48 to 72 hours with new quotes for you. It then gives you a timeline. And then for me, we set it up in 3 days. This will turn, it'll have an arrow right here that says, if you haven't already sent the quotes, you need to do that now. Once I send the quotes out, we will then move it to this review quote pipeline or stage in the pipeline. And this will immediately, so I've emailed quotes to Nicholas Pierce. When I move the card over, it texts him and it says, hey, Nick, I just sent you some quotes. When you get a chance, take a look at them for me. And then what this will do is this will sit here for me for the next few weeks. And once a week minimum, it will either email, text, or once we get it set up, send ringless voicemails to tap on the client and go, hey, I sent you some quotes. Did you have a chance to look at them? It'll text them and go, hey, I sent you some quotes a couple weeks ago. Have you had a chance? Do you have a question? Do you want to take some time to review? This is also the piece where in any of these, if you have your scheduler set up where people can get on your calendar to make an appointment time with you, that scheduler link is in most of these emails and some of these text messages to give people opportunities to go jump on my calendar, which then gives your staff a chance to prepare and go, hey, I've got this appointment with Nick on Thursday. I need to make sure that whatever I'm telling him, whatever quotes I have available, whatever questions I have for him, I'm ready to go at that appointment time. If it rolls through all of the automations in this review quote where it's attempted 3 or 4 times in 3 or 4 weeks to reach out to the client and say, hey, I sent you new quotes, I'm trying to get you moved for a better price or whatnot, if they just never respond, the last email that goes out tells them, hey, I haven't heard from you, so I'm assuming you're good to stay with your current carrier. Please make sure that you make the renewal payment. If you need us to process that, give us a call. And then the final step on this, if this card stays in this stage, is that it basically says, okay, they're staying where they're at, and it automatically moves it to the issue for me. This right here, this stage that says renew issue. If Nick calls me and goes, hey, these look great, I want to go ahead and do this. I need to get together my kids, whatever, my kids' transcript, or I want to, but I don't want to pay until the 29th. I can then move this to this rewrite pipeline, or the rewrite stage in the pipeline, where there's no automation being sent out, but I have created labels that remind me, like on this one, hey, I made an appointment with her so I can get this finalized. I also have a label on here where I can tell it that I'm just waiting on payment. And so I can look at this very quickly and I can see, like, what am I waiting for on these things? If I know that it's just a payment, it's just an appointment, you can create a label to say, like, if you need documents to be sent. And so it will sit here until the day that I have the appointment with them, or when I come in, I go, hey, I need to call this person because she renews in a few days. But this is a place for this to sit until I'm ready to finalize their rewrites. And then lastly, it goes into this renew issue policy where it just sends them a quick, hey, thanks for sticking with us. We appreciate your business. If you should get your policies in the mail if you don't have them already. And then 3 days after that, which is why these are still sitting here, 3 days after that, it sends them a quick Google review and says, hey, could you give us a Google review? We really appreciate, all your referrals and your great reviews and all of that stuff.
So one of the best things about this is when you start with InsuredMine, and even right now, Rachel alluded to it earlier, if we decide, and we did a little while ago, decide this isn't quite working the way we want it to, so it allowed us to add the end pipe and funnel in here. It's really easy to add and change stages in the system, and you can set this process up exactly the way you want it. Your process doesn't have to be our process, doesn't have to be the next person's process, but it allowed us, in addition to everything else we've said, number one, if you look up top where it says private 180, if that's 180 cards that she has in all of these different stages, that's unmanageable if she opens Evo and she's got 180 diaries in there. She has absolutely no hope of touching every single one of those in a day. But she doesn't necessarily have to. She just doesn't know by looking at them in Evo what needs to be touched. By dividing them out like this, Rachel at a glance knows which of these is a priority for her to handle immediately. It also tells her and I both, guess what? We're in the summer. People go on vacations. People are out of the office. I don't have a hope of going through all of my diaries and all of the employee on vacation. But if all their stuff's in a funnel like this, I know what needs the most attention first. Right. So it's helped us also keep organized as people cycle in and out of the office, either on vacation or they're sick.
Yeah, and Cruz, I see your question about emailing and text. So all of the emails that are being sent through these automations they're being sent through my Outlook. And so I actually went in one day last week, even before I knew we were doing this presentation, I was scrolling through my sent emails looking for something. And we have the automated emails set to go out at like 8 a.m. in the morning because you can set the time. I counted through and this had sent out 50 emails for me between renewal emails that needed to go out, new business follow-ups that needed to go out, all of that. It had sent all of those for me. And so those were 50 less touches that I had to do manually. It sent it out for me. You do have the ability to send through here. You do have the ability to add a file. I think you asked about quotes. So you absolutely could attach the quote to this card if you needed to. We still do update Evo. So when I sent Nick this, when I sent the quotes to Nick, I moved his card over, but I went ahead and attached the quotes into Evo and made the note that I had sent the quotes out to Nick, so that when I go back, if he calls back or if I'm following up on that one, I know where it's at in the process. We do use this note pretty often, where you can put in a note that, like, let's say it's back here, and let's say Henry's liability policy comes out on the 14th, but his homeowners doesn't come out on the 21st. And so I'm waiting for his homeowners renewal to come out. I can make myself a note on here, and I can just tell it, you know, waiting for home renewal. And that way, if I come back in tomorrow and I'm like, hey, why didn't I move Henry's card yesterday? Then that note is sitting there for me to remind me as soon as it pops up. Oh, we lost it. Wherever Henry, oh, there we go. That card is sitting there to remind, that note is sitting there to remind me why I'm waiting on that, why I haven't moved it yet. So you can add notes in here. You can attach files in here. You can go in and you can send emails through here. So if I wanted to send Henry an email, this takes a second to pop up, but you can create email templates. So for example, on our new business quotes, when we send them out, we send them kind of some specific verbiage with that. And so if I was sending Henry, I could just put this in here. I can attach the quotes to him and then just send it through here. So I don't have to question or wonder, like, are my employees all kind of saying the same things? Are they saying, especially on renewals, are they saying the things that are helpful for a client to know, like, this is where the market is? We have some predetermined emails that have that information in there that are going out. And then the text message feature is up here. Can see all of the text message history. If you go and find a client, you can look at anything that's been sent back and forth. You can turn on a feature in InsuredMine to auto sync all of this, to where every text that's sent creates a diary in Evo. Every time you move a card and a task pops up, it creates a diary in Evo. I opted to not do that, because then I end up with like 75 extra diaries in Evo. That's just then overwhelming for me. But you do have that option to do that as well.
And we've chosen, like Rachel said, that we keep Evo kind of as our home base to add all our continuing notes in, because if I only understand this because of my friend Brian Johnson, but when you're talking about the process, Evo can leave that diary open and we can add continuous notes to it for the length of the renewal process until we close it. Well, because InsuredMine is sending these transactions to Evo, it can't add them into that one diary. It's got to create a diary for each individual process. So we've chosen not to do that part in InsuredMine. We do it in Evo because we think Evo's better suited to keep all of those notes in one place. But you do have the flexibility, like Rachel said, of turning that on and having it all driven back there for you if that works better for your agency.
And then the benefit is, if you go through and I go, okay, well, let me reassign Jennifer and Amy and Scott to, you know, Jessica or whatever. When I reassign this card over to the other employee, then whatever automations are set up will then come out of that employee's email address. It won't come from me. And so whoever the card is assigned to, it's going to drive all of that automation out of their assigned text number or their assigned email address, so that if anything comes back, then it goes directly back to that person to answer it. The labels that are on these, so like this says price stayed the same, you're going to stay where you're at. So this automation is set up for her, that it's going to email her for me and let her know, hey, I reviewed all of this. It looks all good. We're going to keep you where you're at. If you have any questions, let us know. And then it's going to send her a, hey, your renewal is right around the corner. If you haven't paid it already, please give us a call or go online. And then on the day of her renewal, it's going to move that stage into that issue policy one, where it goes, hey, thanks for staying with us. We're so glad you kept your business with us. Now, the thing I will say with these, especially on this front end, is you're going to have all of these set up with a certain amount of time, right? So I know that, like, for example, Blanche, she just came in my pipeline today. I reviewed her stuff, it stayed the same, and moved her over. And so the way that the timing is set up for her is right, it's perfect because I moved it that day, that it's going to go in 2 days and send out the first email. It's going to go on the 4th and send out the second email, and it's going to move her on the 14th. If for some reason I get behind by a couple of days, I have to be aware of these timelines, because if I end up not looking at Blanche's card until July 1st, then it pushes all of this back, and I may not want, like, it may send her this, your renewal is right around the corner on like July 20th after her policy's already renewed. So you really have to stay on top of those like what you're sending out in the timeline. And if you know that you've moved it a little bit late, you do have the ability to put a stop on a specific, like, okay, this one can go out to let her know, hey, I reviewed this, it stayed the same, but I really don't need to send this one because it's past her due date, and I can go ahead and stop it at that point. Rob, I know it sounds overwhelming. It absolutely is. And that's why I say, like, start small. Start on, it doesn't have to be this many stages. It doesn't have to be this many steps. It doesn't have to be this much automation. You can just start off with something that sends them something at 45 days, 30 days, and 15 days. And it just start there and then grow from it. But yes, we've built up to this over the past, 4 months that we've been working it. And so that's why we got it to, where it's at now.
I haven't set up the commercial pipeline for our agency because Rachel and I really wanted to know that we had a handle on this and understood the process and the intricacies. I do know some other agencies that started with the commercial pipeline. So I'm in the process of doing the commercial right now, and I'm going to do exactly what Rachel said. I'm only setting it up with like 2 communication points, just asking them to update their information for us, and then reminding them that we're working on their commercial renewal, and that's it. So our commercial pipeline is not going to look nearly like this right now, because I need to get a better handle on how that's going to work with admitted and surplus and all of that in the backside. So you can start as little or as much as you want, and every single communication point that Rachel said is totally up to you. You set the timelines, you set the days things are sent. One thing that we have found that we really love about InsuredMine is that almost every piece of this is customizable, and you do as little or as much as you want, whatever type of communication you want sent to clients, whatever you want it to say, you're building all of that. And while that can sound overwhelming because you're like, where do I start? What do I put in there? They've got some great templates. They've got some great suggestions. I'm happy to share with you the things that Rachel and I have developed. Almost every single communication point Rachel and I have written ourselves. I'm not creative in marketing stuff at all. Canva is a great tool to make me look like I know what I'm doing, and I can build stuff in Canva and then drop it into these communication points in here, and it makes it look like we've got a graphic designer on staff that's organized all of this.
Cody, if you're asking about like the text and all of that, if you use the text and let it push from InsuredMine back to Evo, it shows up as a diary, as a text diary. If it's all of the tasks as it's moving through the pipeline, it shows up as a task diary. We're not pushing any of that stuff back, and so like none of what, like, it's not going to push back and show a renewal type diary because that's just not how it's set up. We just use those renewal diaries that are already existing in Evo to track all of this. And then Cruz is asking about if they pay their renewal implementing signature. So we still use DocuSign for all of our signatures. And so if we do have something that needs signed, if they do make changes where we need signatures before we can make changes and all that, we track all of that. We track it in Evo, and we use DocuSign to follow up with, to get the signatures.
So maybe you can start thinking about using InsuredMine e-signature. Because with the InsuredMine e-signature, you are going to be able to have everything as in InsuredMine. But if you send any signature for your clients, you are going to have it in the contact and in the account. And the document, it's going to transfer to Evo.
Good to know.
Yep.
See, they're adding stuff faster than we can keep up with it.
I know, right? So that's the renewal one. That is by far probably the most complicated process we have. We do have, like, this is the new business pipeline that she talked about. We're not going to go into much detail, but like we can put in a prospect here. If somebody gives us a lead on like an internet lead, and this will every couple of days we'll email or text them and go, hey, you reached out, we'd love to quote you, we need some time to get your info. Once we have their information, we can put it here. It emails them and says, hey, thanks for calling in, and here's my email address. If you have any questions, I'll get you quotes out in the next couple of days. Same thing, like this will text and follow up on a quotes we sent. I actually did that one. That one's done. Thanks, Gina.
And see what
So
she
when I
did
moved-
it's that easy. Like she's done with it and she's moving it over into our issue of policy.
Right. So now it's going to remind me to send her ID index pages. I did already do that. And then it's going to move it to our onboarding pipeline automatically for me. And so this helps to, like, so this is one that we've sent quotes and they call back and they're like, yeah, let me talk to my husband, or maybe we make these changes. Like, so these are, it's still several pipelines, but this is kind of just our new business process. And then once they do join us, this is our onboarding, where it'll give them a welcome email that says, hey, this is who we are. You can attach files in there. And so the email that goes to them is basically an overview of our company with headshots and brief explanations of who everybody is. This is asking for a Google review. This one tells them, like, hey, this is who you can call if you need service done or if you need changes on your policies. And then, hey, this is an update of our renewal process, because we know that people are having, they're getting concerned when renewals come out. We're letting them know, I think this is 2 or 3 months ahead of time, like, this is what our renewal process looks like. So when yours comes up, we'll be working behind the scenes to do all of this for you.
Like, one of the things that I thought we didn't necessarily do a great job of is, as independent agents, really educating people on how we work behind the scenes, and the fact that we do have access to all those different carriers. It doesn't matter if you told them that when you wrote them. 3 months later, they don't remember any of that. And so their neighbor mentions that they're with Travelers, they're going to go call their agents, their neighbor's agent, instead of just calling you back. So we added into that new business onboarding just an email that tells them, just so that this is how we're organized, and this is how we're operate, and we're an independent, we have access to all these carriers, and we're going to do all of this review process for you so you don't have to start over. And we have found, since we started sending that, we're getting fewer calls where they're going, hey, I just left your agency for Travelers, and we're like, oh, we had Travelers, we would have loved to know that. And we're getting way fewer of those calls now that we've set up these communication points.
Yep. Yeah, and then I think the last thing they wanted us to touch on a little bit was the workflows. Denise, do you want me to share your screen, or you want me to just go there for you?
Just go there and I'll sing. So these are other places that you can set up different communication points. So you can do bulk texts to your clients if you want to. We have one of our workflows we have set up is for birthdays. We send out an email to all of our clients for their birthdays. We went in, will it show the actual?
I don't think it'll show the actual one.
On this. So we went and did a customized email.
There it is.
And that's our whole staff. I've gotten more compliments from people on this email. We've been sending emails for years to people for their birthdays. We get more compliments on this one because it's all of us in the picture.
I love the picture.
It's just given an additional communication point and made it more personalized for all of our clients. The number of times we can put our name and our faces in front of them, the more personalized they feel about working with us. We're not just a nameless, faceless insurance company where, oh, it's Denise. I know her. I know her face, and I've dealt with her. It's the same thing Alex told us over and over about when they had us go to our business cards with our pictures on them. People want to do business with people that they know and they're familiar with, and people don't throw away business cards with photos on them. So we use the email campaigns there. We use it for the birthdays. We use it for anytime our office is going to be closed. We were just closed for Memorial Day. We've used it to send out the blanket in there. If Rachel opens that, you're going to see I've already created the one for Juneteenth for Monday, and I've already preloaded the one for the 4th of July to send out. Should be email campaigns.
You need to change your view as an
Oh
admin.
yeah, you're in.
Yep, my
You're
bad.
not an
Yes.
admin.
Please hold.
I was like, I know I just did those this morning. So I already
But-
preloaded those in
There we
there.
go.
And it's the same concept. Like you go in and tell it the day and time. That's why it says the first two aren't started, because I've already programmed when I want those to go out, and the system will automatically send them for me. We just had a carrier that announced they were no longer renewing policies, and I used this system to go in and email all of those policy holders a blanket communication. As much as I love Evo, the list of policy holders was more accurate sending it out of InsuredMine than it was when I ran the 2 different reports out of Evo to send those communications. So that's a place where InsuredMine has been able to magnify the data we have available and now the use we can actually use it for. They've got pre-programmed ability in there for us to do auto no home, home no auto. It really, the sky's the limit as much communication as you want to send to people. InsuredMine and Evo have worked together to have ways to pull that data and send out for us.
Yeah, I was going to see if it pulls it. So we've created 3 or 4 templates that we use for renewals or new business or that kind of thing. But you can see like the total number of what's available that's been pre-created for us in addition to what we've created on our own. Like there's a ton of, here's a teen driver update. Here's a, drowsy driving prevent. Like these are all things that are available that you can utilize and send out, modify and make it your own, that kind of thing. Plus being able to, we've created like the, the birthday one that we created, the Juneteenth one we've created, all of those things. So you can create your own, you can use templates they have and you can tweak them. There's just a ton of stuff available.
Yes. So every month we share new templates. Lindsay from TWFG Marketing, she creates the templates and she shares with us, and we embed those templates in your account. So you will be able to use, as Rachel said, you are going to be able to use those templates or also create your own templates. But you need to keep your TWFG brand and details in the communication. So guys, we have like 5 minutes. Before we finish, I want to ask you how InsuredMine has been helping you in your process and something that you haven't seen that grow your business, improve your management, the connection with your clients.
I can say from like a personal lines manager side where I have 5 people, 4 people that I'm managing, that looking at the InsuredMine workflow where I've got that renewal pipeline, I can get a quicker snapshot of where all of my people are. And if someone is drowning, if there's an issue, like if there's things that have been left behind for days because they're behind, like it's a much quicker way than Evo for me to be able to come here really quick and look and go, okay, this client, this worker, my employee, this one, this is in her process and she's done all of these. And I see, okay, she's got 4 remarkets to work today. Well, that's absolutely a manageable workflow for her versus me coming in and realizing she's got 25 of them and she's 7 days behind. And I go, okay, today I need to focus on helping her get caught up. So from a managerial point of view, it's given me a really easy and great snapshot to kind of see where not just me personally, but like where our workflows are going for all of our different employees to make sure that they're kind of staying on top of everything and we're not letting stuff slip through the cracks.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think from a management perspective, just the amount of staff time that we're no longer using in going back and forth and emailing and reminding clients things, it's allowed us to be much more professional and much more time oriented, and the staff is not nearly as overwhelmed because a lot of these communication points are going on in the background. Like Rachel said, she can walk in the door and there's already been 50 emails sent out for her. That saves real time during the day, which means as a branch owner, that's probably a whole person, more than a whole person that I've now saved because those things are being done automatically.
Right. And talking about your business growth, have you seen any growth with InsuredMine, with your renewals?
I would say our retention has probably been much better because of it. Because it gives us the ability to communicate more often so people know we're working on stuff. And so whereas like before, I think if someone had gotten their, I know for like if people had gotten their bill at 45 or 60 days out and they see the price go up, if they didn't already have an email from me, it's easy for them to respond and go, yeah, I just got my homeowner's bill and it's so high. Are you going to reach? Like if they haven't heard from me yet, they're just going to start asking around, well, who's your insurance through? Who's your insurance? Like that kind of thing. So I think it has definitely helped with our retention. I haven't looked at all of our new business and how I know market is super hard and competitive right now. So Denise would have to speak on if we think we've seen any uptick in like new business and how that's helped. I do know it has helped me communicate better with people when I'm working on new business quotes because it sends them a reminder and they go, thanks so much. I kept meaning to get back to you. I have this question kind of thing. So it's kept the interactions going. And I do know that we have had several people because we also, I don't think we looked at it, but we have an X date pipeline where if I've attempted to quote you and you go, no, I'm just going to stay where I'm at for now. When that card gets closed, it goes into an X date and it sends them throughout the next couple of years, every few months. But hey, we're still here if you need us. I have had several people from those X dates reach back out and go, hey, I'd love for you to requote me again and see where you're at. So I think it's tracking more like boomerang kind of new business where people are coming back and wanting us to requote again.
Yeah, that makes sense because, well, so with the X-Day pipeline is going to help you to reconnect with them even if they didn't connect at all or if they didn't accept the quote. So you are going to keep them in the loop and you are not going to lose any of those prospect or clients.
Yep.
Well, and that was probably one of our biggest things is when you've got all this volume and you've got new business coming in and you've got all these renewals that need to have a hand on, I was finding that those X dates were falling through the cracks because no one had time to get to them. So now we at least know they're getting consistent communication from us and we have people calling us back off of them.
Yep. I agree. So I will say thank you guys for sharing how you build your process, how InsuredMine has been helping you. And well, guys, I'm going to invite you to schedule your meeting with Charney or with Kunal. They will be able to help you with your process. And also I know that Denise and Rachel will be available for you if you have any question. Denise and Rachel are one of the top users after Damon Cook. So I love to hear the success story that they have been using InsuredMine and how InsuredMine is helping you at this moment. So the next training that we're going to have, it's going to be on July 12th. It's going to be e-signature and forms. We saw that some of you are asking about the e-signature. So we have been improving the e-signature and also how you can embed the forms in your website. I will send you in the chat the link registration, and also we are going to send you some emails with the link.
Thanks, guys, for having us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Have a good day.